Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilapa Vishwam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Srimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitilapa Vishwam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilapa Vishwa Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitilapa Vishwa Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitilapa Vishwa Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nagariya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Padadas Raghunath Shraddha Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Nama Jai Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaur Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shyama Kund ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai. Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kartik Vrat ki jai. Palankari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Damodar Ju ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Alright, so I am just doing a very short reading today. I'll give Indira Mataji some time to catch up. Alright, so yeah, just a couple pages. Sharing my screen. All right. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Narayanati Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadadaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhavo Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedustam Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskrityam Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridantasto Hyabhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayesh Pavadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamang Charanantikam. Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshai Kshiptashtaka Madhitaranga Madhe Kripa Maitam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charana Ravindam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. So, we got through Sarga, which is the creation of all the different elements and all these different things. And now we are reading about Visarga, which is the more, all the different, it's the secondary creation. So first was just all the basic elements and everything, and now it's all the different and this is just, yeah, we're almost finished with the chapter. I could finish the chapter today easily, but I'm just gonna drag it out over 2 days. Because then we'll begin the third canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Visarga explains, the Lord, though not performing material actions, accepted the form of Brahma and performed actions for creating the forms and activities of the living entities. This is what we're going to be reading today. I'm just giving us a preview. All species creation. All the species like the Prajapatis, Manus, Devatas, humans, animals, reptiles, etc. are created by the Lord through Brahma, based on their karma. The three modes creates different living creatures, demigods, human beings, and hellish living entities. These three types of beings are again divided into three, when each guna is mixed with the other two, when each quality is mixed with the other two. And then there's maintenance. The Lord, in the form of Vishnu, maintains the humans, animals, and demigods, and reclaims the conditioned souls through various incarnations. Destruction. The Lord, in the form of Rudra, annihilates the complete creation and end of the millennium, just as the wind displaces the clouds. Then there's an appreciation of the devotees. Some devotees appreciate the Supreme Lord in his role as the creator, whereas the greater devotees appreciate him not just as a creator, but also as one who enjoys spiritual pastimes. The Lord does not directly carry out the activities of creation, maintenance, and destruction. The mention in the Vedas about his direct interference in the activities of creation is simply to counteract the idea that the material nature is the creator. Sarga and Visarga. Usually, Sarga happens at the beginning of Brahma's life, and Visarga at the beginning of Brahma's day. And 47. Time. I will describe later, in Canto 3, Chapter 11, about the measurement of time. Now hear from me about the Padma Kalpa. All right. So let's jump into it now. We're on verse 37. There. All right. Now what did I say we're going to read up to? 45. Okay, cool. Prajapate manun devan rishir pitrin kana pratak siddhacharana gandharvan vidyadras suraguhyakam kinarapsaraso nagan sarpam kim purushan naran matri raksha pishachangscha preta bhuta viniyakam kushmandon madavetalan yatudhanam grahanapi Khagan mrigan pashun vrikshan girin nripa sarisripan dvividash chaturvidaye yenye jalastala nabhokasha kushala mishra karmanam gatayastvima. O king, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. This includes Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads like Vaivasvata Manu, the demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, the great sages like Bhrigu, Vyasa, and Vashishta, the inhabitants of Pitrilok and Siddhalok, the Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras, and angels, the serpentines, the monkey-shaped Kimpurushas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matrilok, the demons, the Pishachas, ghost spirits, lunatics, and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, cool, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, and from seeds, and all others, whether they be in the water, land, or sky, and happiness and distress, or mixed happiness and distress, all of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. I want to see what a real goblin looks like. Okay, purport by Srila Prabhupada. The varieties of living entities are mentioned in this list, and, with no exception from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet of the universe, all of them in different species of life are created by the Almighty Father, Vishnu. Therefore, no one is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, the Lord therefore claims all living entities as his offspring in the following verse. Sarva yonishu konteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasam brahma mahadyonir ahang bija pradapita. The material nature is compared to the mother. Although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body, it is still a fact that the mother is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. The father is the ultimate cause of birth. Without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the innumerable universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead. And only to the man with a poor fund of knowledge they appear to be born of the material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living entities beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita 7.4. The material nature is inferior in comparison to the living entities, the superior nature. The superior nature and inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all universal affairs. Some of the living entities are relatively happy in better conditions of life, whereas others are in distressed conditions of life. But factually, none of them are actually happy in material conditional life. No one can be happy in prison life, although one may be a first-class prisoner and another a third-class prisoner. The intelligent person should not try to be promoted from third-class prison life to first-class prison life, but should try to be released from the prison altogether. One may be promoted to first-class prisoner, but the same first-class prisoner is again degraded to a third-class prisoner in the next term. One should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. That is the real goal for all types of living entities. Sattvam rajastama iti tisra sura naraka tatrape kashorajan bhedyante gatayastrida yadaikaikataramnyabhyam sabhava upahanyate. According to the different modes of material nature, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of darkness, There are different living creatures who are known as demigods, human beings, and hellish living entities. O king, even a particular mode of nature, being mixed with the other two, is divided into three, and thus each kind of living creature is influenced by the other modes and acquires its habits also. Purport. The living entities individually are being conducted by a particular mode of nature, but at the same time there is every chance of their being influenced by the other two. Generally, all conditioned souls in the material engagement are influenced by the mode of passion, because every one of them is trying to lord it over the material nature to fulfill his individual desire. But in spite of the individual mode of passion, there is always the chance of being influenced by the other modes of nature by association. If one is in good association, he can develop the mode of goodness, and if in bad association, he may develop the mode of darkness or ignorance. Nothing is stereotyped. One can change his habit by good or bad association, and one has to become intelligent enough to discriminate between good and bad. The best association is the service of the devotees of the Lord, and by that association, one can become the highest qualified man by the grace of the Lord's pure devotees. As we have already seen in the life of Srila Narad Muni, he became the topmost devotee of the Lord simply by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. By birth he was the son of a maidservant, and had no knowledge of his father, and no academic education, even of the lowest status. But simply by associating with the devotees and by eating remnants of their foodstuff, he gradually developed the transcendental qualities of the devotees. By such association, his taste for chanting and hearing the transcendental glories of the Lord became prominent. And because the glories of the Lord are non-different from the Lord, he got direct association with the Lord by means of sound representation. Similarly, there is the life of Ajamil, 6th canto, who is the son of a Brahmin and was educated and trained properly in the discharge of duties of a Brahmin, but who, in spite of all of this, because he contacted the bad association of a prostitute, was put into the path of the lowest quality of chandal, or the last position for a human being. Therefore, the Bhagavatam always recommends the association of the Mahat, or the Great Soul, for opening the gate of salvation. To associate with persons engaged in lording it over the material world means to enter into the darkest region of hell. One should try to raise himself by the association of the Great Soul. That is the way of the perfection of life. Sa evedam jagadhata bhagavan dharma rupadrik pushnati stapayan vishvam tiryanara suradhibi. He, the personality of Godhead, as the maintainer of all in the universe, appears in different incarnations after establishing the creation, and thus he reclaims all kinds of conditioned souls amongst the humans, the non-humans, and the demigods. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, incarnates himself in different societies of living entities to reclaim them from the clutches of illusion, and such activities of the Lord are not limited only to human society. He incarnates himself even as a fish, hog, tree, and many other forms. But less intelligent persons who have no knowledge of him deride him, even if he is in human society as a human being. The Lord therefore says in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, Avajananti mamuda manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. As we have already discussed in the previous verses, it is concluded that the Lord is never a product of the material creation. His transcendental position is always unchanged. He is the eternal form of knowledge and bliss, and he executes his almighty will by his different energies. As such, he is never the subject of reactions for any of his acts. He is transcendental to all such conceptions of actions and reactions. Even if he is visible in the material world, the exhibition is only of his internal energy, for he is above the good and bad conceptions of this world. In the material world, the fish or the hog may be considered lower than the man. But when the Lord appears as a fish or hog, he is neither of them in the material conception. And it is his causeless mercy that he appears in every society or species of life. But he is never to be considered one of them. Conceptions of the material world, such as good and bad, lower and upper, important and insignificant, are estimations of the material energy, and the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all such conceptions. The word param bhavam, or transcendental nature, can never be compared to the material conception. We should not forget that the potencies of the Almighty Lord are always the same and do not decrease because the Lord assumes the form of a lower animal. There is no difference between Lord Sri Ram, Lord Sri Krishna, and his incarnations as a fish and hog. He is all-pervading and simultaneously localized at any and every place. But the foolish person with a poor fund of knowledge, for want of that param bhavam of the Lord, cannot understand how the Supreme Lord can take the form of a man or fish. One compares everything to one's own standard of knowledge, as the frog in the well considers the sea to be like the well. The frog in the well cannot even think of the sea. When such a frog is informed of the greatness of the sea, it takes the conception of the sea as being a little greater than the well. As such, one who is foolish about the transcendental science of the Lord will find it difficult to understand how Lord Vishnu can equally manifest himself in every society of living entities. Tata kalagni rudratma yatsrishtam idamatmana asani yachanti tatkale ghananikam iva nila. Thereafter, at the end of the millennium, the Lord himself, in the form of Rudra, the destroyer, will annihilate the complete creation as the wind displaces the clouds. Purport. This creation is very appropriately compared to clouds. Clouds are created or situated in the sky, and when they are displaced, they remain in the same sky without manifestation. Similarly, the whole creation is made by the Supreme Personality of God in his form of Brahma. It is maintained by him in the form of Vishnu, and it is destroyed by him in the form of Rudra or Shiva, all in due course. This creation, maintenance, and destruction are nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita 8:19-20 as follows. Bhuta grama sevaya bhutva bhutva praliyate ratyagame vashaparta prabhavatta haragame parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakta vyaktat sanatana yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashati. The nature of the material world is that it is first created very nicely. Then it develops very nicely and stays for a great number of years, even beyond the calculation of the greatest mathematician. But after that, it is again destroyed during the night of Brahma without any resistance. And at the end of the night of Brahma, it is again manifested as a creation to follow the same principles of maintenance and destruction. The foolish conditioned soul who has taken this temporary world as a permanent settlement has to learn intelligently why such creation and destruction take place. The fruit of actors in the material world are very enthusiastic in the creation of big enterprises, big houses, big empires, big industries, and so many big things out of the energy and ingredients supplied by the material agent of the Supreme Lord. With such resources, and at the cost of valuable energy, the conditioned soul creates, satisfies his whims, but unwillingly has to depart from all his creations and enter into another phase of life, to create again and again. To give hope to such foolish conditioned souls who waste their energy in this temporary material world, the Lord gives information that there is another nature, which is eternally existent without being occasionally created or destroyed, and that the conditioned soul can understand what he should do and how his valuable energy may be utilized. Instead of wasting his energy in matter, which is sure to be destroyed in due course by the Supreme Will, the conditioned soul should utilize his energy in the devotional service of the Lord so that he can be transferred to the other, eternal nature, where there is no birth, no death, no creation, no destruction, but permanent life instead, full of knowledge and unlimited bliss. The temporary creation is thus exhibited and destroyed, just to give information to the conditioned soul who is attached to temporary things. It is also meant to give him a chance for self-realization, and not for sense gratification, which is the prime aim of all fruitive actors. Itam bhavena katito Bhagavan Bhagavatama Netam bhavena hi param drashtumarhanti suraya. The great transcendentalists thus describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the pure devotees deserve to see the more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. The Lord is not only the creator and destroyer of the material manifestations of his different energies. He is more than a simple creator and destroyer, for there is his feature of Ananda, or his pleasure feature. This pleasure feature of the Lord is understood by the pure devotees only, and not by others. The impersonalist is satisfied simply by understanding the all-pervasive influence of the Lord. This is called Brahman realization. Greater than the impersonalist is the mystic, who sees the Lord situated in the heart as his heart as Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord. But there are pure devotees who take part in the direct pleasure, the Ananda potency of the Lord, by factual reciprocation of loving service. The Lord in his abode, called the Vaikuntha planets, which are eternal manifestations, always remains with his associates and enjoys transcendental loving services by his pure devotees in different transcendental humors. The pure devotees of the Lord thus undergo a practice of that devotional service to the Lord during the manifestation of the creation and take full advantage of the manifestation by qualifying themselves to enter into the kingdom of God. The Bhagavad Gita 18:55 confirms this. Bhaktyamam abhijananti navam chasmi tatvata tatto mam tatvato gyatva vishate taranantaram. By development of pure devotional service, one can factually know the Lord as he is, and thus be trained in the bona fide service of the Lord, and also be allowed to enter into direct association of the Lord in so many capacities. The highest glorious association of the Lord is made possible in the planet of Goloka Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna enjoys himself with the gopis and his favorite animals, the Surabi cows. A description of the transcendental land of Krishna is given in the Brahma Samhita, which is considered by Lord Sri Chaitanya to be the most authentic literature in this connection. Nasya karmani janmado parasyano vidhiyate kartritva pratishedhartam mayayaropitam hitat. There is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of the material world. What is described in the Vedas about his direct interference is simply to counteract the idea that the material nature is the creator. Okay, we're ending with this purport. The Vedic direction for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world is this. Yato vai imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayantabhisangvishanti, i.e., everything is created by Brahman. After creation, everything is maintained by Brahman. And after annihilation, everything is conserved in Brahman. Gross materialists without any knowledge of Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan conclude material nature to be the ultimate cause of the material manifestation. And the modern scientist also shares this view that the material nature is the ultimate cause of all manifestations of the material world. This view is refuted by all Vedic literature. The Vedanta philosophy mentions that Brahman is the fountainhead of all creation, maintenance, and destruction. And Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the natural commentation on the Vedanta philosophy, says, Janma dasya yaton vayad itaratascha teshva vigya swarat. First verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, etc. Inert matter is undoubtedly energy with potential to interact. But it has no initiative of its own. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam therefore comments on the aphorism Janmadhyasya by saying Abhigya and Swarat, i.e. the Supreme Brahman is not inert matter, but he is supreme consciousness and is independent. Therefore, inert matter cannot be the ultimate cause of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world. Superficially, material nature appears to be the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction. But material nature is set into motion for creation by the Supreme Conscious Being, the Personality of Godhead. He is the background of all creation, maintenance, and destruction. And this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam etunanena konteya jagadvi parivartate. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord, and she can work under the direction of the Lord, adakshena. When the Lord throws his transcendental glance over the material nature, then only can the material nature act, as a father contacts the mother, who is then able to conceive a child. Although it appears to the layman that the mother gives birth to the child, the experienced man knows that the father gives birth to the child. The material, well, kinda. He's the cause of the mother giving birth to the child. The material nature therefore produces the moving and standing manifestations of the material world after being contacted by the Supreme Father, and not independently. Considering material nature to be the cause of creation, maintenance, etc., is called the logic of nipples on the neck of a goat. The Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes this logic as Aja Gala Stana Nyaya, as follows. Aja Gala Stana Nyaya means, Stana means nipple. What's Gala? Gala means neck, Aja means goat. So, goat, neck, nipple logic. So, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes this logic as follows, as explained by His Divine Grace, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. The material nature, as the material cause, is known as pradhan, and as efficient cause is known as maya. Okay, but since it is inert matter, it is not the remote cause of creation. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states as follows: Ataiva Krishna Mola Jagata Karan Prakriti Karana Jaiche Ajagalastan. Because Karanarnava Shai Vishnu, I always have a hard time saying that one, is a plenary expansion of Krishna, it is he who electrifies the matter to put it into motion. It is he who electrifies the matter to put it into motion. The example of electrification is quite appropriate. A piece of iron is certainly not fire, but when the iron is made red hot, certainly it has the quality of fire through its burning capacity. Matter is compared to the piece of iron, and it is electrified or made red hot by the glance or manipulation of the Supreme Consciousness of Vishnu. Only by such electrification is the energy of matter displayed in various actions and reactions. Therefore, the inert matter is neither efficient nor the material cause of the cosmic manifestation. Sri Kapila Dev has said, Yatol mukar vispulangar domar vapi swasambhavat apyatmatvenarbhir matar yatagni pritag ulmukhat. The original fire, its flame, its sparks, and its smoke are all one. For fire is still fire, yet it is different from the flame. Flame is different from sparks, and sparks are different from the smoke. In every one of them, namely in the flames, in the sparks, and in the smoke, then the integrity of fire is present. Yet all of them are differently situated within different positions. The cosmic manifestation is compared to the smoke, because when smoke passes over the sky, so many forms appear, resembling many known and unknown manifestations. The sparks are compared to living entities, and the flames are compared to material nature, pradhan. One must know that each and every one of them is effective simply because of being empowered by the quality of the original fire. Therefore, all of them, namely the material nature, the cosmic manifestation, and the living entities, are but different energies of the Lord, fire. Therefore, those who accept the material nature as the cosmic manifestation's original cause, prakriti, the cause of creation according to the Sankhya philosophy, are not correct in their conclusion. The material nature has no separate existence without the Lord. Therefore, setting aside the Supreme Lord as the cause of all causes is the logic of Aja Gala Stana Nyaya, are trying to milk the nipples on the neck of the goat. The nipples on the neck of a goat may seem like sources of milk, but to try to get milk from such nipples will be foolish. Alright, so that's all for today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Garangam Davika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai. Shri Govina Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmachila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shrimad Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmad Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shrimad Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shrimad Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Mahabhagavat Shri Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Shri Satchitaranda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai. Namachar Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय. सर्व अभिष्ट व्रत गिरिराज महाराज की जाय. श्री राधा कुंड श्यामा कुंड की जाय. श्री मनु देवी गंगा देवी की जाय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय. श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय. गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय. श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवाय कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः. वंशा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Dandavat pranams. Hari Bol. Thanks for joining me in this reading. And tomorrow is the last day of reading the second canto, and then we will begin the third canto, the day after tomorrow. Hari Bol.